Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our wildfire recovery update. We declare today an emergency declaration made due to the public health hazard as a result of the wildfire ash and debris that are still up in the Santiam Canyon. This allows the EPA to begin removal of household hazardous waste. We've learned that they plan to begin at the end of this month, beginning of next month, and they plan to be completed with the household hazardous waste cleanup by the end of the year. All rights of entry, which a landowner must sign, a homeowner must sign in order to allow them to do that household hazardous waste cleanup, must be submitted by October 16th. This portion of the cleanup is free of charge, and there will not be any charge to the property owner or the insurance company of that property owner. We just decided today, and I imagine we're going to have more conversation about this, to waive permit fees for people rebuilding their primary residence up in the Santiam Canyon due to wildfires. This is a waiver of the building permit fee and a septic fee. This does not waive state fees or city fees. We don't have the jurisdiction to do that, so there still may be some fees associated with that. But Marion County is waiving building permit fees for folks who want to rebuild their primary residence that was burned down as a result of the fire. And for us, this is our way of saying that we're with you, and we want you to get home as soon as possible and to rebuild your home. And it's really important for us to encourage everybody living in the fire-affected areas and to help you as much as we can. We're going to have a virtual town hall on Tuesday, October 20th at 6 p.m., and the link is available at bit.ly/wildfire town hall. Probably the easiest way to find it is on our Facebook page or our website.
Well, they gave me this morning to talk about reopening of Highway 22, and I wondered if it wasn't because of the impressions and things I've said since then. You know, we went up there the next day, probably shouldn't have been up there yet, and I was so struck by the trees, the unstable soils, the rocks in the roads. I predicted it'd be a long time before that would happen, before we'd get to reopen 22 again, as it was last night at 7 o'clock. So somebody's done a terrific job of getting that done. It also says a long time. It's 5 or 6 weeks since the fire. I was thinking a moment ago, and there's nothing to laugh about, but you know how time goes fast when you're having fun, and I think this one proves that time goes fast when you're not having fun too. So just a couple things on that opening. They're asking for reduced speeds, and I think that certainly makes sense. There's going to be workers, and there's still a possibilities for debris and different things happening on the roadway. Be cautious, watch for fallen debris and trees. And it says respect boundaries, stay off private property as the community works to recover. So that was a little bit of a surprise, and I'm very happy, and hope it stays open and it is safe.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cameron?
Yeah, I'm going to drive that highway this afternoon.
To Bend?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I've been to Detroit.
Drive slow, 40 miles an hour.
Right. I've been to Detroit several times. You know, my home still standing but smoked out. And I think one of the things we found out last night, Brian may be talking about that, is Detroit is not going to have water probably for at least 2 months, is what they were. The soonest it looks like could be December sometime at the soonest. So who knows? There's still a lot of unanswered questions there. But I want to talk about debris removal. Obviously, the option one for the household hazardous waste. We want to get everybody to get their right of entry forms turned in. Tomorrow was the date, or excuse me, Friday was the date, October 16th. We're asking people to get those in. I'm sure if they miss that date that they'll still be able to turn it in. But the reason we need everybody to get that option one right of entry form in, because part of the prioritizing of how they're going to go in and clean up is if they've got a lot of properties in one area that have filled out their right of entry forms, they can go in and be efficient versus going from, you know, block to block to block. So we need to get that in. There will be, as Commissioner Willis said, there's no charge to anybody to get that done, that household hazardous waste program. And the other thing that we just found out, Brian just told me, is that you can now go on and fill out multiple forms for right of entry. So if you have more than one property, before you couldn't do that, now they've fixed that issue. So if you've got 2 or 3 properties on the, especially on the environmental hazard removal, you can go out and click. And I just text somebody who was asking about that and said, go do it and let me know if there's any hangups on it. So that's brand new. Option 2, ash, I call it ash and trash. On here it says ash and debris, so I guess I got to be careful how I say it. Say it really fast, right? We are working with the State Debris Management Task Force, advocating for the state to cover the 25% match. That's probably the biggest hang-up right now on the ash and trash, is that there's a movement towards having a state manage local control. And so we're still working on that. That's the State Debris Management Task Force that will make those final decisions and let us know very soon. So that's, again, right of entry forms for that. Personally, I'm telling people, go ahead and fill that one out, because you can always back out if it's a slow process and you get it done yourself. That you can always, you don't have to have the county, state do it for you. There is still a potential that property owners may get charged on their insurance for some of that. However, I listened to FEMA last night, and or I listened to the state last night. The state was said basically, yeah, people shouldn't double dip. If your insurance paid you and now the state is doing it and basically paying you to clean your property, you should be able to pay that portion back that was a line item on your insurance. But I heard that not heavy-handed. In other words, I don't think they're going to come out and demand that from people. So that's still up in the air. And then we'll share more information as we have it on the debris removal. There is a wildfire recovery. I think Jolene just put it on our website. It just came out yesterday. It's the 2020 Wildfire Recovery Right of Entry Frequently Asked Questions that the state put together, and that's a 3-page document. You can go to many places and find that, including our website. Last thing I was asked to talk about was septic tanks and making sure you mark your septic tanks. Public Works has put stakes and ribbon, and I love how Brian said it. Don't just put a stake here, a stake there. Actually tie the ribbon off and mark it where your tank is and potentially where your drain field is, so that when they do come in, they know that this is something they shouldn't be driving over the top of, etc. It protects it from the heavy equipment. And those are available, those stakes and ribbons are available at the Gates Community Church, as well as I think in Detroit someplace.
Well, right now in Anthony Hall, City of Detroit doesn't have anything set up yet in Detroit.
So Anthony Hall and in Gates, you can get those stakes that our Public Works Department has done, and you can mark out your septic. Do that as soon as you can. Careful when you're doing that. You don't, we've had somebody fall through a septic tank. It's not pleasant. So that's what I have.
Very good. Brian, do you want to add anything?
Right now on rights of entry, about 2/3 of property owners have responded. Commissioner Cameron's right. It does make a difference on how EPA attacks our needs. If we are ready to go and another area is not, we're very likely going to be higher up on that priority list. So, and we've been meeting with state and federal partners on details. And I know folks are, rightfully frustrated that not every question has been answered yet, but there's a pretty impressive group of people at the county and state level working with FEMA and EPA to get answers to those questions. So, the best we can do is give people the best information we have available right now. And then answer those questions, those few remaining questions as we're able to. On Marion County's website, you go to any county website page, and at the top of the banner, there's a red button that says Wildfire Recovery. Click on that button, it'll take you straight to the right of entry form and frequently asked questions, which we'll be posting shortly. I'm not sure if they're up yet, but, and they really, we have been, over the last week and a half, folks have really poured in the questions, and we put a ton of effort into getting the answers to those questions. So if you really want to drill down and see what questions, the dozens and dozens of questions that people have been asking and the answers we've been able to get from our state partners, they're there for you to take a look at. And then I do want to put a phone number out there one more time. Anybody that has any questions about filling out the right of entry form, the process, the information that's needed, even the deadline. This Friday is the deadline that the state asked counties to complete the right of entry process. Of course, if something comes in after Friday, we're not going to turn people away. But the sooner people are able to respond and get those in, it really does help the process. But that phone number that people can call if they have any questions, it's 503-365-3140, 503-365-3140. We have folks that can answer just about any question that we have the answers to at this point.
Thank you, Brian. Do we have any questions, Jolene?
So we do have a member of the media here today, so if you'd like to go ahead and ask your question, Bill.
Bill, you're up.
Tax values with these houses, the properties where houses are gone now? Are there any decisions with Marion County about? Because I would think it would change the tax value once the house is burned down. Are there any tax relief available from the county perspective, or is that a state thing, or what?
Yeah.
This is super complicated. It sounds like
So-
Commissioner Cameron wants to jump in.
So,
let's
yeah,
have
go ahead
Jolene
and repeat the question.
Just so repeating the question so the people at home can hear. So the question is about property tax values and how they might be affected by wildfires, and is the county making any plans for that? Is that a good summary?
So we actually, it's probably, I lose track of time. This is we're in the 6th week, I believe, after the fire. I think, Bill, probably 3 weeks ago, we put together a legislative concept that we sent over to Senator Girard and others that would, it's a state issue to allow us to provide property tax relief. As we all know, it goes from June 1st of this year to July 1st to June 30th. So people are going to get a tax bill here in another month, and they're going to say, hey, my house is gone. So there's also information that we've had the assessor put in there to show them how to apply for relief, so that if your house was only standing for 2 months or 3 months out of the tax year. So we got that in their tax bills as well. How it's going to affect budgets is the long-term question. Because of the way property taxes are collected and distributed, it won't impact too much this year, but the following year it will have a big impact on all the taxing districts in that fire district. And yes, we have already, we've had our assessor in and tried to evaluate what that potentially could be. He has the numbers somewhere based on the structures that were lost.
Part of what makes it complicated, Bill, is it sort of depends, was the land more valuable or the structure more valuable? And depending on if the structure was burned but the land was most of the value of the property, they may not see the tax go down all that much. But I think all of our perspective, and that's the letter we wrote to the governor, is that if the last thing you need right now is a big tax bill if you just lost everything. And so we did ask for a 1-year moratorium on property taxes for people whose homes had burned down. I brought that up with the governor. She said she supported the concept, but we actually have to see it signed into law. So we're still waiting to see what happens there. Do you want to add anything to that?
Well, I hate to say it, but all those, we just lowered building permit fees, $1 million, $1.2 million, valuations certainly will change. It just scares me for the future, and revenues necessary to keep county operations going, and it could get pretty austere around here in the coming years, so there will be effects if that's the second part of your question.
I have another question on
Okay.
Facebook. The community member asking about right of entry and says, does the debris removal step include removal of anything but ash and loose debris, i.e. will it include concrete, foundations, driveways, etc.?
Brian, I think that's probably a question for you.
Yep, good question. And actually, you'll find that on the state frequently asked questions that they just posted yesterday. Well, and there's still some details that are developing conversations between the state and FEMA. Certainly, they're going to take away any structural debris that's there. Property owners should anticipate that concrete foundations are going to be coming out. This fire was hot enough that typically it's compromised foundations. So our idea is we want to do what we can on the ground to help protect septic systems, so there's not inadvertent damage to septic systems. But then everything else, essentially everything else that's associated with your structure is going to be removed by the contractor.
Okay. That's it.
That's it?
Oh, Bill, you got another one.
So if people are clearing up their own properties, is there somewhere where, you know, like ash and debris, is there somewhere that they're allowed to take them?
Can you repeat that question, Jolene?
So the question is, if people would like to clear their own properties, is there a place for them to take the ash and debris?
Right. And the answer is yes. All of the existing EPA and DEQ rules and programs are all in effect and still operable. So a DEQ certified contractor, certified in asbestos abatement, they can follow all the regular processes they normally would on any other project in the state. And we've been communicating with Coffin Butte, with the local haulers, just to make sure there aren't any holdups there. We've gotten some complaints that somewhere in that chain of events where between contractor being engaged on a project, filling out the paperwork, doing the testing and submitting reports for disposal, that there was some hang-ups there. And we've done some inquiries, and we think we found where there could have been some rubs, just some people waiting to find out where the larger debris removal effort was going. But all of the checking we've done with contractors, disposals, landfills, and DEQ says all of those programs are still in place and operable. So a DEQ certified contractor should be able to go in, follow all the rules, and get that material handled and disposed of.
Well, you better clarify, though, I heard the question was somebody cleaning up themselves. It didn't imply a contract necessarily to me, so they got to have testing. What else? They should also know it'll be accepted where they're going. There are some things they better be aware of before they just start loading up.
And that's a very good point. Any home that was built after 2004 by DEQ regulation requires asbestos testing to verify that there is no asbestos present. The landfill is going to require that documentation before they accept that debris. And then if there's positive testing, so there's asbestos present in that instance, there's going to be additional paperwork and documentation that the contractor needs to provide. So if you're doing this on your own, people really do need to recognize that there really is a hazard to their health and potentially their neighbor's health because of the nature of friable asbestos after a wildfire. So if you're tackling it on your own, there is a very significant risk of exposure, and when those kind of materials, lead and asbestos, get into your lungs, your body can't process and eliminate those things. So they just lead to long-term progressive damage to your body. Property owners that are thinking of taking this on themselves, they need to be really, really careful. That's what the DEQ advises. Be careful. If you're not ready to engage a contractor to just take on the job, start with a testing firm, and they can do the testing protocols and help you make that next decision on whether you need to get a certified contractor involved. If your home is newer than 2004, you can get that documentation from our building department or from the assessor's office, right? So,
That's great. Thank you, Brian.
All right.
This is a complicated area, but an important one for folks.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Very good. Thank you, Bill, for being here, and thanks for all the questions.
Okay.